Yeah, I think him froze. So in the meantime, y'all. In the meantime, I'm not entirely sure what he was gonna say, but in the meantime, yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. All right, guess it's my turn. Guess it's my turn. But now, like mental health is a big deal. So we're not gonna stick on this for too much longer because I know we could talk about that all day. So getting into the next thing, we got Bill Belichick has some problems coming up. I don't know much about it, so we'll get back to it. I don't know. I'm all over this docket. But no, what we're gonna talk about right now though is apparently Michael Lombardi is pissed off about some of these NIL contracts. So in a recent article with 24/7 Sports, Michael Lombardi speaks up about how they feel the NIL landscape is not really very conductive to a lot of these players because what's happening is about 4 to 5 players have backed out of deals based off of the fact that, and in his words, citing the loosely written language of the contracts as a contributing factor. What Lombardi says is quote is the most disappointing thing about the college game that I've experienced is that the players don't view the contracts as binding. I come from a league where the contracts are binding. We've had 4 or 5 players we signed in December before we get here. They have left already without any hesitation. They're free to do
I'm
that because
sick of this. I'm sick of
like
these
loosely written on
technical
based
difficulties. I'm sick of it.
it's not our night apparently.
It is not our night.
And he goes on to say, we as a league, the NCAA, and all these conferences have to make players on their contract when they put their John Hancock on it. And I agree because we've talked about this before, and I know since it's still preseason, we're going to be talking a lot about NIL stuff. We'll be talking a lot about transfer portal stuff. We'll be talking a lot about just stuff that you don't particularly care that much about. You want to get to the season so we can talk about the actual football. And I'm with you. I'm ready for football to start back. The draft is over. We're working our way to it. We got what, 3 months, 2 months, 2.5,
Something like
and
that.
we there. Just a
Oh, did
couple
you?
more episodes, we in there. But
Oh, you went right to the Mike Lombardi quotes.
at least I had some knowledge on that one. I didn't have much about the Netflix thing, so I was like, you know what, I
Okay.
got some on the Mike Lombardi thing. And
Okay.
I honestly agree because one, North Carolina has had 51 players
Yeah.
leave UNC in the transfer portal, which is the most by any ACC team and the
It is.
most Tar Heel era in the portal era.
Whew.
And the problem is, and we've talked about it before, when you go and sign these NIL deals to these colleges, you should be expected to play the whole time you're there. There
This is
should be
true.
no reason at all that you should believe that once you sign a contract that you can just up and walk out. And I think that's going to be a problem. Maybe not professionally, because professionally it's like, okay, no, if you want to
Nah.
go, we'll go. We'll send you out.
Listen, them professional contracts, they might do a buyout depending on if it's conducive to the salary cap or not.
If it's conducive to the salary cap, it's not going to put them in a hole. Sure, they'll just buy
Oh
you out
yeah,
and let you go.
they'll buy you out and let you do your thing. But here's the other thing: them NFL contracts are way more stringent on their wording. Like they make
And
sure them things are
and that,
airtight.
and not just that. The other problem is with an NFL contract, if you have a certain amount of time left on your contract and nobody wants to pick that up, guess what? You're playing for that team until that contract is up. You're not.
Oh,
You're,
you thought you was gonna
there's
get out of
no
here?
there's no I'm going to ask for a trade and they're just going to go ahead and trade me. Or when this
Absolutely
window comes
not.
up, or when week 8 and the trade deadline comes up, I'm going to be a part of that deadline trade. No, if you don't get a trade, guess what? You don't get a trade. You're not going anywhere.
You get
Like
your
you are sitting
behind on
right
that
where
field.
you are. You were sitting right where you are until that season's over, and they can do something with you in the off season, or your contract's done. And what I believe should be happening in the NCAA at this point, especially with the NILs, put them on 2-year contracts for NILs. No contract. Like, your NILs don't span 4 years. If you do get a 4-year contract, you are now required to be at that school for 4 years. You can
What's
transfer
up?
your 5th year.
Hey, what's up, Steve? How you doing, my boy?
What's going on, Steve? Appreciate you, my boy.
Still not,
Welcome back.
still, Still mad they took Bo Atkinson from us. Y'all ain't right for that, Steve.
And and that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, if you're signing a 4 year NIL deal, you should be expected at minimum to be there for the 4 years that you signed that contract for, unless another school is willing to pay you out of that NIL deal.
My thing with the NIL deal and the way it's going, because there's another quote. I don't know if you read it, but I got it right here. That Lombardi said, because he's like, I've got to make this team look like a Southeast Conference team. We need a roster conducive to building big, fast, physical football, a roster that can play in any kind of weather, mental toughness, and can control the field. You cannot be a great executive in football without studying past history of football. And he's like, why did
Why did
Clemson
Clemson win the
win?
championship?
Why did Florida State?
Why was
And
Florida
my
State with the
and
ACC?
my thing
Yeah,
with this, and I know that doesn't necessarily tie into the NILs, but it's like the way these NILs are being written, we all knew it was coming. We all knew that it was going to be a thing. Players were going to start getting paid. So in my mind, why are they already so loosely vague? Why were they not airtight? We all saw the writing on the wall. We all saw that this was going to be a thing.
hmm
So how is it y'all didn't have time to prepare and make sure that one, these kids would be held to this, and two, as stringent as the NCAA has always been on players not taking money in any capacity before NILs were allowed, why aren't y'all stringent on enforcing these contracts to be fulfilled? Because now you got kids who are, for lack of a better terms, trying to game the system and just being like, hey, yo, let me get my first few NIL checks here and there from this school, and then I'm bouncing if I don't rock with it. Or if they're
right. If
not
I don't rock
giving,
with them out,
because it's also like, if they don't give me the playing time I want, regardless of whether you're actually worth that playing time, because I guarantee you, some of you are not worth that playing time. You're like, oh, they ain't giving me the playing time I asked for. I'm bouncing. Nah, sir.
hmm
Nah, sir. Listen, young man. Listen, young lady. One thing about the adult world, once you sign a contract,
you win it.
you bound to that contract until you
Dude,
fulfill it or y'all can find a way to get out of it. Like respectfully and
that's
amicably.
it.
Like that's the name of the game. As much as we hate to say it and as much as we hate to say it, you are bound to that contract until you can find a way out or you fulfill the needs of that contract. That
Now I
that
will
is it.
say, I will say there is a piece of this. There is a piece of this quote in here that does bring some excitement to the lot to the UNC football team here. So basically, what Lombardi figured out was the reason why Miami was good, all these other teams were good, because like I said, they have 6'5" defensive linemen, not 6'1". The thing I noticed on this roster is that we have to get bigger, more physical, and stronger. They've added an NFL weight program. We've added 450 pounds of muscle and 125 and lost
Big body.
125 pounds of fat within the
Big
team
body.
that we have since January. We're making progress. So basically we were about to have what you can expect to see or hope to see is a bunch of NFL physique type of players, especially along the defensive and offensive
Nah,
lines.
nah.
And
You know what you're
that's
about to
gonna
see. You're just about to see what Bama was in the 2000s to 2010s and what Georgia is now.
I'm about to say you're about to see a bunch of just like you said, you're about to see a bunch of SEC type football in the ACC. And
Like
and
what?
I'm gonna say it. And I know this isn't their podcast for this. I'm gonna say it. Clemson was one of those teams that I don't and I've said it all the time. Clemson just needed to go ahead and be in the SEC,
Oh
in my
Lord,
opinion.
here he go
And
with this.
the only reason why I'm saying it is because up until now, up until recently, where they just started getting struggles, they honestly played competition wise. It wasn't great up until recently. They didn't really play North Carolina that often. When they did, it was like okay, North Carolina was getting better, but like they weren't at the pedigree. So now that you got Belichick coming in, you got these new weight programs, you got these newer expectations, you got
Yeah,
you have an NFL team builder blueprint right now. Basically, just like you said, like what we saw in the likes of like LSU back in the day, Auburn back in the day, Auburn back like Alabama back in the day, Georgia now,
yeah.
like stuff you saw like Ohio State now, Michigan kind of sort of.
Boo, boo.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah, Steve, I complimented him. Don't worry, it's not going to happen
No,
twice.
no,
So
I will never. In the right
it won't happen
capacity.
twice. It's only happening because I needed him for the argument at the moment. USC back in the day,
I
way
mean,
back in the day, like Reggie Bush days. They ain't been like that since.
it's just one. It's just one of the things where that's what you need to win, and the NILs are going to make it hard to
To keep
develop
those
kids like
guys.
that and keep kids like that because
Mhm.
the moment you get a kid like that, if Alabama, for example, you know what? We're gonna use Clemson and Georgia for example, right? Because Clemson's been the top of the ACC, Georgia's been the top of the SEC. Bill Belichick gets, let's say, a 6'5", 6'6" monster, right, for defense,
Mhm.
and then he plays a year. Clemson comes in and says, "Hey, yo, we can give you an NIL for $4 million." Georgia says we can give you an NIL for $8 million. This kid's only been getting potentially a $500,000 to $1 million NIL at North Carolina, especially because some of these kids come from nothing or come from a place
Come
where
from
they've
real.
never had money like that. They're
Right.
gonna dip. The loyalty ain't there. Like they're going for the money, not necessarily because this is the coach that can develop you for the next level. And I'll say it. As a pro, we've on the pro level, we've all said we couldn't stand Bill Belichick. But one thing I can say about Bill Belichick, he can develop a player.
Oh,
He can
definitely.
develop a player into a star. I don't care.
And the other problem that comes in with this is like when you have college football before NILs came in. Because once again, I was still in that camp of like, yeah, the players deserve to get paid. All the money that they make you in this school and all this stuff, no, they deserve to get paid.
I was
But
on the
before
fence about it up until I played. Like I was definitely I was like, why should I be paid to play college football? I'm getting a scholarship. Then I actually became a college athlete. Nah, bro, pay me. Pay me.
so
Even if
like
it's $10, pay me.
and before NIL came in, and like I said, there is and like a lot of people go ahead and say they're still figuring it out. But it's like before NILs came in, college football was focused on if you focus on your craft, then you'll make the money. If you
Yeah.
focus on developing as a player and being as good as you can possibly get, and some, the money's gonna come. I understand that this at this level you feel like you need to get paid, but this stage here is developing you to be on that stage there. And if you can't put in the work to get to that stage there, then what's really the point of you being here or you
And
wanting
here,
to be on the
and
squad?
here's
I
the
get
thing
wanting to
about it.
play uniform, but